It gives you something impossible and makes you suspend your disbelief and believe that it's real, and it completely changes everything.
As an actor, I can say this, and I definitely think as a viewer as well, you believe it, you're in it.
The characters you've created, they're human. You know, there is a side to most of these characters that you could go and actually appeal to.
Just when you think you like someone, this is what they're capable of. Or just when you hate someone a hell of a lot, they do this act of generosity.
It was just wonderful to sort of get more into Cersei and sort of reveal her inner self.
He realises he has to do what he has to do to save people's lives, and he's now got a destiny as well.
We've been lucky enough to actually cast it exactly the way we wanted to, and this is the best cast I've ever worked with. They never complain.
That's because they're afraid of being killed off.
So the second book in George Martin's series is Clash of Kings, and the second season follows Clash of Kings. And there are now, whereas the first season, Robert Baratheon was the one commonly accepted king, now there are 4, 5, maybe even 6 people declaring themselves kings. Who's the rightful king?
Stannis.
Joffrey Baratheon.
Absolutely Stannis. How's it Joffrey? He's not even a...
Yeah, no, obviously it's Dany, but I don't know, technically at the time for you guys, I suppose it's Stannis, obviously, but it's not really, it's because you're just usurpers, all you.
So Michelle, Rob talks a lot about not wanting to be king, and now, do you buy it? Do you really think? I think he's protesting a little bit much. Do you think he would like to sit in the Iron Throne?
It's lovely to watch and have those scenes with Richard, because you see the natural progression as well of a young man taking on the mantle of authority. And I think the more he becomes used to it and the more success he has, the more confident he becomes and the more he wants to be king.
In your mind, when you're playing Dany, why does she want to be queen? Why does she think she has the right to be queen? It's something people really question you on for the first time this season. Nobody ever asked why. It was just, it was what was.
Because
and now in this season,
option.
Everybody's pushing you.
Yeah.
And they're asking you, well, why do you think?
I think that it's something that she just can't control. It's something that is it's a destiny that she has. And it's so kind of shocking to her that it's ever going to be questioned, because it's like, if I had a choice, I wouldn't do this. I wouldn't go after this. I wouldn't be given the situation I've been given. I don't have a choice. It's been thrust upon me. She's being presented with arguments that she can't fight against. Dany is incredibly intelligent and strategic, and she's working out her game plan. So she's practically putting the crazy life she's had up until now into use. And I think that's what we see in season 2 for Dany. You sort of see her kind of trying to be taken seriously, because at the same time, like, she's got dragons. You'd think that no one would argue with her, but she's still a woman and she's still desperately trying to be taken seriously and trying to show that she's not just a kid.
Well, you bring up a really interesting point, which is that she's trying to be taken seriously partly because she's a woman. I mean, how does that relate with Cersei in terms of, obviously, very different characters, very different storylines, but in terms of what she confronts as a woman in a world where women are second-class citizens?
Well, Cersei's kind of obviously the 2 brothers, and she talks about it. She says, he was taught to fight, he was kind of given everything, and I was, sold and taught to smile. And I think her sort of first thought with Joffrey was, we're going to do it, do you know what I mean, with her powerful son. And now this has all turned into an absolute disaster, and she can't say it because she's steered it. But her fight, as a woman and as just generally being more easily disregarded, I think that bites her all the time. She doesn't have Jaime there to confide in, and she's only got Tyrion, and she comes to a breaking point where she does try to, but they're so dysfunctional that it doesn't work.
That's one of my favorite bits in the season, when she realizes the only person she can talk to, even remotely, is her brother, who she loathes, but they share so much history that he's the only one who really understands, and they try to have that moment and fail. To me, that was a really effective one.
Well, there's that wonderful moment where you're saying to Tyrion, I mean, you're the only one who's taken it seriously. Jaime has always been, there's kind of a sense of entitlement with Jaime where everything came easily for him. He's the eldest son. He's the great fighter and everything. He never took it seriously. And then, of course, Tyrion makes a joke about it. And, this moment where you're revealing a lot about yourself, he just uses it as ammunition.
It's all fallen on me.
As has Jaime repeatedly, according to Stannis Baratheon.
Catelyn makes a decision. to release the Kingslayer, the most valuable prisoner that her son has acquired, and doing it without his knowledge. Do you think it was the right decision?
I genuinely think it comes from, with Catelyn, it comes from a very honest, loving place. She wants her daughters back. She is deceived to go on to become the deceiver too, because Littlefinger gets to her, and he plants the seed in her mind whilst giving her her husband's bones. And I think it's something that very gradually builds, because even in that scene she says, do you think I keep secrets from my son? You know, so she, at that point, it's never going to happen. But gradually over the course, this need, this burning thing of this wish to get the family back together.
You learn what's happened to your sons in Winterfell and that they're in jeopardy.
One thing we haven't talked about, which I always found fascinating about her character, is her relationship with Jon Snow and just how much she loathed Jon Snow for so many years. And this is a woman who's so loving in most ways with her family, but doesn't consider him a part of the family. He's like this alien who's been brought in.
In a lot of ways, Jon is betrayed by many people close to him. Like, Catelyn betrayed him. His father betrayed him by not telling him the truth about who his mother is, or what the wall's like, or the realities of things. Uncle Benjen says he's coming back and he doesn't come back. You know, there's lots of people that betray Jon in his life.
What's your name?
Jon Snow.
Snow. Now listen to me, bastard. All you lot from south of the wall, you southerners.
Wildlings versus Night's Watch. Seems like the Wildlings have a better deal.
Yeah, there's more of them.
And as Rose, yes. And as a big scene in season 2, a couple of scenes where Ygritte touches on the fact that the Wildlings kind of have some things to offer that the Night's Watch does not have to offer. Do you feel like some real ambivalence starts to creep into the equation?
I think he does. He does have that struggle in that, you know, he is at the heart of it. He's a man, and as such, he craves what men crave, which is company and women. But I think the whole of the second season where he's talking to, you know, Ygritte and being tempted by her and teased by her, it's pretty hard not to look at that side of things and want it. So he does have that struggle. And I think he really kind of is tempted to run off like Mance Rayder did and go and join the Wildlings, which towards the end you see him do to one level or another, I suppose.
You never really win an argument with her. She always gets the last word.
Well, she always seems to leave him she leaves him with the last word, and then she goes, and he gets really like turned on by that, I think. You know, it sort of kind of really floats his boat. And Rose, who plays Ygritte, was fantastic. Just an amazing actress and just so brilliant to work with, and she nailed that kind of that teasing quality.
How old are you, boy?
I'm a man of the Night's Watch.
You're a boy who's never been with a girl.
You got to go to Iceland for 3 weeks.
Yes.
Tell us about beautiful Iceland.
Iceland was, it's just stunning. It's the most amazing landscape. When you fly in, it feels like you're landing on the moon, and that's exactly what we needed for beyond the wall scenery. So I think the one worry that we all had is that it was so alien looking that people will watch and think this is all CGI'd when it really isn't. None of it's CGI'd. It was minus 35 one day.
Gosh, that's cool.
So cold that people's beards froze to blocks of ice. Yeah.
Well, there's a shot of Samwell's talking to Jon Snow, and in one shot his face is basically clean. And we cut to Jon, and then we cut back to Samwell, and it looks like he's become Father Time.
And just behind the camera, me and Jon can just see David Benioff laughing. It's just like such professionalism.
So looking around the table, all these characters are of noble birth. Even the bastard has noble heritage. Davos Seaworth, on the other hand, comes from Flea Bottom, the worst slum in all of King's Landing, and his father, as he says, is a crabber. And he made his living as a smuggler. So, and it's not something we've really talked about before ever, but, what do you think of the class differences and interacting with, the fact that you're now interacting with men who would be kings?
Well, I think what's got him there is his loyalty and the fact that he has the gift of lateral thinking, which is, he helps Stannis, and Stannis holds his thoughts in such high regard that he can be swayed. And I don't think Davos is certainly not the type. There's no ambition. I don't think it's an ambition. Duty was probably at the top of his list, or his attributes. I think he's of the opinion that the truth will set you free, and it's why he's so devoted to Stannis.
Do you think Davos believes in this religion? At a certain point in the beginning, he seems like a definite non-believer. He's a real skeptic, and he talks about going all around the world, and everyone's talking about their God. And he's seen people praying in all different languages. It never works. But then he sees Melisandre conjure the shadow demon, or give birth to a shadow demon. There's no denying that happens. So I mean, what do you think he believes?
Well, I say
Sorry, I was just listening as a listener. It's just quite strange. We're talking about very seriously the birth of the shadow.
Yeah. Well, this is I think your point is a good point. That the world we're in. I mean, we know that the dragons existed and all, but everything is kind of out there. It's myth with evidence of it being real. So I think it's not like the real world with somebody giving birth to this weird creature. It's something that has come from a world that they've tried to push away, and now it's coming back into the world. It's the same with the dragons coming in, same with this coming in. It's incredibly scary, incredibly dangerous, but not beyond belief. And I think there's an acceptance in that. And I think it's one of the strengths of the show, is that you can have this stuff. It's a wonderful extra element to the reality of the whole show. And I played that as it being scary and life-threatening, but not so ridiculous. The opportunities that it opens up are extraordinary and incredibly unusual for a drama.
I think it's testimony to the calibre of the characters, that they're written by George and by you guys as well, that they can kind of, you're so sucked into the layers that they have as people and as a drama in itself, that you put the fantasy on top. And as an actor, I can say this, and I definitely think as a viewer as well, you believe it, you're in it. Throughout the whole of season 1, you get little tasters, and you kind of, the back of your mind, you're sort of working it out because you believe the characters as people.
Catelyn has that scene with Brienne where you're talking about what you've seen with the shadow demon has assassinated Renly, and this is your first encounter with the supernatural. It seems like you've been a skeptic about it as well. I mean, you're a very practical woman.
From Catelyn's point of view, it's in some way her role in the second series is it's negotiating. It's about going and actually, which is wonderful with the characters you've created, they're human. You know, there is a side to most of these characters that you could go and actually appeal to, and as a mother, and say, please stop fighting. So that there's a possibility of achieving that with real people, but with supernatural, you can't. Mm-hmm. You're playing a completely different game.
Yeah, it's a game changer.
And it opens up a completely terrifying option, which is you cannot control it. And when she has that scene, when she is there negotiating with Renly, and suddenly this thing happens, and it's the fact that she has seen it as well. And she can't really describe it, but she knows that this is evil. There is something evil here.
What's interesting is that all 4 characters, not Cersei, but the other 4 characters sitting at the table have encounters of one kind or another. You see a White Walker for the first time, and then just how that shades, I mean, everything about going beyond the wall.
Yeah, that moment where he sees the White Walker picking up the child changes everything for Jon. Up until that point, he's ambitious, he wants to rise in the Night's Watch, and the minute he sees that and he sees this supernatural force, which is bigger than the wildlings and bigger than any kind of agenda he has, I think it does change him, and he suddenly, things get more serious. He realises he has to do what he has to do to save people's lives, and he's now got a destiny as well. It completely changes his mindset about what, after that moment, I think he gets very, very serious about what he has to do, and he stops being so selfish, maybe. He knows he's got a job at hand. But there's a lovely scene which I love playing, which is the one where he's telling Commander Mormont he saw something, and Mormont's there saying, yeah, you did, but it's good that you did, sort of thing.
And you realise that he's known all along that these sacrifices are taking place.
And it's a really horrific moment.
Sword. Something to that child. Whatever it was. I dare say you'll see it again.
Everybody at this table has had some very emotionally challenging things to confront. I mean, maybe we could talk about that a little bit, talk about what you all personally thought were some of the most difficult scenes dramatically to tackle.
I really loved the way you guys kind of built up a relationship with Mathos, and that they had. I mean, he does challenge him, and I really like the whole thing that my character is. He's uneducated, but he's loyal, and he's searching the right place, and he's good. He's got street smarts, and this bizarre situation where his son has been brought up and educated, and his son is now trying to better him or get him to better himself. I love that journey because their relationship was so lovely with each other.
It is. It would be so easy to mock the religion of the fire god, but then, you know, he has that really wonderful moment that the two of you played together where he's talking about praying for you when you were off at sea and how you always came home. And
that was.
But it's also really evident the pride you take in your son and the fact that he is literate and that he'll be a knight someday and that he is someone who's so trusted by the king that he is writing down the king's letters and all. I mean, that seems very real. And
yeah, he's got a future, and to have that all taken away, I think it just adds a great pathos to the whole thing. It's what's wonderful about the show is those interpersonal relationships and the loyalties.
I have faith in the Lord of Light. I have faith in our cause. And I have faith in my captain.
What was it like to work half your season on a boat that was built in a parking lot and pretend like you were actually at sea?
Well, everything I look at is still green. I've gone down. So it's weird. I've got a monochrome retinas now. No, it was wonderful. It was wonderful, and especially episode 9 with the war. And Neil Marshall, who directed that, I've worked with a couple of times before. So because it was so involved and technical and image-driven, that I consider myself lucky that we had a kind of a shorthand.
Yeah, and of course, I mean, episode 9 is in some ways the centerpiece episode of the whole season, culminating in an attempt or a thwarted attempt by Cersei to kill her son and commit suicide. And to get to that place, I mean, it was probably the most emotional we've seen Cersei, or at least the most, pushed to the most desperate.
That was kind of extraordinary to film anyway, because I've got a little boy, and you can put yourself there for sure. She doesn't want any harm to come to her children, and so she's like, if I take his life, and we'll be together.
Well, that scene is a beautiful performance by you. I mean, it's such a tricky thing because you're telling your son almost like a little fairy tale, yes. And you don't want to let on that you're so frightened because you're trying to calm him. And
well, that thing with children when they fall, or if
right.
they look to you for, yes, is this scary? And you're going, no. Then if you go, oh, they totally feed from that. And so that was part of the reading, was, not inferring what was coming or that it was horrifying.
How did you feel, Lena? Cersei's character, we learn a lot more about her in season 2, and she's at home. I mean, so much of season 1, she's on the road or she's up at Winterfell. Mm-hmm. Tell us about the differences. I mean, working, and you got to work so much with Peter this season, which was a change.
It was great. I mean, it was just wonderful to sort of get more into Cersei and sort of reveal her inner self a bit more. And so just to sort of let it go a little bit more. And then, of course, the relationship with Tyrion is kind of immensely challenging. She's got a huge hatred for him and a massive respect at the same time. And she's kind of wants to be him in some ways. I think she wants to be both her brothers, and so to sort of get into all that, especially with Pete, who I've known for a long time and I trust and I love him to pieces, was sort of exciting, and it was just edible for me this year. I loved it.
We were just talking last night about how interesting it is that the personal love that you guys have for each other translates so effectively to like sibling rivalry and hatred on screen, and how like the comfort level that you have with each other lets you go to that place.
Yeah, because you feel safe and you're not questioning anything. And I was pretty violent to Pete on one occasion.
Get out! Get out!
I mean, that's an effective shove because he falls down, and I remember seeing it and thinking, I don't remember us writing that, but it works so perfectly.
I know, and I said, Pete, I'm so sorry. Like that was, and he went, I love it. I went, okay. We're good. We're good.
So on the betrayal theme, Catelyn and now Robb Stark is also, he is deceived by friendship, for instance, and trusting in Theon, and you're advising him not to. I mean, you're desperately trying to convince him not to do it. It must be immensely frustrating, I guess, for the character to wish she had power as opposed to just being the one who can whisper and
give advice.
Yeah, right.
Also, I think in the nature of that relationship as well, that thing of not wanting to emasculate either. You can't go in and say, no, don't do this because it's terrible, you know. And also, I don't trust that person. You know, he is a man in his own right, and he has to make decisions. And sometimes it is better for a parent, I think, to, rather than humiliate them, to let them make their own mistakes, because that's how you learn.
What's it like working on the show back in your homeland, Northern Ireland?
Oh, it's wonderful. I mean, a lot of the time, this year particularly for my character, a lot of stuff was interior, like in tents and stuff like that. So, but on the few occasions when we did have exterior, they were most stunning locations. Just so beautiful. Like at Ballantoy, at the rope bridge, and then up on Fairhead, where I used to go when I was a kid, when we were on the horses, and then you can see Rathlin Island, and then you see Scotland, and if you go that way, it's America. And when you're up on this precipice, and you really can see the world is round, because it goes like that.
And you got to spend a month in Croatia, which
This is true.
You know, some people did not get to go to.
Yes.
Yeah, rub it in, David, why don't you?
Tell us about Croatia.
Croatia was amazing. Croatia is just so beautiful, and it's just insane that we managed to find somewhere already that looks like the world of Game of Thrones. It's ridiculous. But yeah, it was amazing fun. We had a good time.
Where are the dragons?
Will you betray her again?
Never.
Daenerys famously is betrayed several times over the course
Several times.
of the series.
Yes.
Your character's not aware of all of them yet, but
No.
But one of them, I mean, one of your most trusted handmaidens.
Yeah.
What was that like?
Well, it was because it caught me unawares. It caught me when I wasn't looking. I was concentrating on these crazy people in Qarth not believing me, and she's not just kind of sitting on her laurels waiting for stuff to happen. She wants to go and actively cross Narrow Sea and take back the throne and start making an active kind of attempt to fulfill the destiny that she's got. So she's not looking when that happens. She doesn't have anybody that she can rely on or trust. And the only things that she has is these things that she's created, these dragons, and she puts everything into them. Her destiny, her hope, absolutely everything. So she's pretty untrusting of people as it is. So then when I think this happens, it's like, what?
Yeah, I mean, you're saying about this isn't the life she would have chosen, it's just what she's been forced into. And,
Yeah.
and it almost seems like her temptation in the House of the Undying, like the last temptation of Christ for Dany is, you know, being in a tent with Drogo, you know, her first love and her son, you know, like she could just stay there, like this is,
exactly.
And it all seems so real, but she can't. I mean,
No, exactly, because she knows that at the same time as that being what she wants, it's not, because so much of who she is her destiny and is what she's been sort of placed to do. So it's like, I wouldn't be happy being here with the man I love and my unborn child. Because I have to answer to what makes who Dany is. And I think that's the beauty of the books. I think that's the beauty of the character. I think that's the beauty of the storyline, is that that's life. That's what happens. You can't. It's nothing is easy.
And good night.
Oh, brilliant. We need some music.
And then slowly going to silhouette. Bring the lights down right.